In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a 3D scatter plot using an R visual. It's even going to include the slicer selection to set the angle of your 3D model, which is kind of interesting to be able to visualize your model in different views. Since a 3D model will use X, Y, and Z dimensions, being able to rotate it adds a lot of interactivity to your visual. So I'm going to show you how to set this up. The first thing you're going to want to do is open up a new Power BI workbook. And you're going to want to make sure that you have R installed in your machine. Once you have R installed in your machine, you come to options, make sure that R scripting is pointing towards that application. And once you do that, you can use R visuals in your Power BI report. So we are going to actually start by coming to Home, Get Data, and clicking on More. When we click on More, we can go to Other and select R script. When we select R script, it's going to bring up this little area that we can type in any R script we want. We are actually going to take the built-in iris dataset, which I used in a previous video for the scatter plots. So if we type in data and iris and go ahead and click OK, it is going to load the built-in iris dataset for us. So when we click on iris, we can see all of this data that's already built into the R platform. So if we click on load, it will bring in our iris data. And just to get you acquainted with the data, we'll look at the data view once that loads in. It contains basically data on these three sets of flowers based on the sepal length, width, petal length, and width, and then the classes for these three different kinds of classes. So we are going to go ahead and bring in an R visual. It'll ask if you want to enable scripts, because I guess it can be dangerous to run scripts that you are unaware of what they do. But since this is a new script, let's go ahead and click Enable. And in order to start coding down here, you have to bring in at least one category. So if we bring in one field, we'll do sepal length, bring it into the values. It opens up this area down here where you can now type or paste our script code. And the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to go to actually our R console. So if you open up your R console, you're going to have to install one package. The way we do that is by typing in install.packages, and the package we want is Scatterplot 3D. So go ahead and click enter and let that package install. I already have it installed, so it's downloaded in the right place. When we come back to Power BI, we can then call this package. And the way you do that is you type in library Scatterplot 3D, and that does exactly what you think, and it allows you to create 3D scatter plots. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to drag in all of the fields we want. We are going to make our X sepal length, our Y sepal width, and our Z petal length. So we already have sepal length. Let's bring in sepal width, petal length, and we're going to bring in the species as well to color the data. Before we do anything else, we want to make sure we are clicking on Do Not Summarize, because we do not want any sort of aggregation for our data. And once we do that, now we can go ahead and write just a little bit of code in order to make our 3D plot come to life. And the way we want to do that is we want to set our X variable. We're going to set X equal to dataset. And dataset is basically what's passed into this R visual. Everything gets passed in as a data frame called dataset. And the way you access all of these individual fields is by typing in dataset and then the money character and then the name of the field. So then it would be sepal.length. We want to set our Y equal to dataset, money symbol, sepal.width. And finally our Z is going to be dataset, money, petal.length. And if we wanted to just plot something real quick, we could type Scatterplot 3D and just type in X, Y, Z. So we're plotting the X, Y, and Z that we just set. Go ahead and click the Run button. And we see this kind of bad looking plot here that shows all of our data. None of it's colored, so it doesn't make too much sense, but it is plotting on a three-dimensional axis. So that's already kind of cool. So we're going to want to add some color to show the different classes. We're also going to want to add some labels so we can show what's on the X, Y, and Z. So let's go ahead and add a couple of more parameters in this Scatterplot 3D call. The first of which being the color. Our color is going to be set equal to dataset money species. So we're setting the color of the point based on the species, and this is actually going to fail when we run it because it needs to pass in basically a number. Right now these are strings. We need to pass in a number. The way you convert a string to a number in R is by typing as.numeric and surround that with a parenthesis, and that should work for our color. Equals as.numeric dataset species. Let's see what this error is. I need a comma. And now we have color for our data sets. That's awesome. Let's add in another call here, another parameter. It's actually going to be PCH equals. PCH stands for plot character, meaning it's going to be the symbol that we represent on the graph. So right now we have these hollow circles. We're going to want very solid big circles. So if we set that equal to 19, that is going to give us solid circles, which look a little bit better in my opinion. So that's pretty much all we need except for the labels. A couple of extra parameters here. Xlab stands for xlabel, and our X label should be set to sepal length. Our Y label should be set to sepal width, and our Z label can be set to petal length. Let's run that finally. And now we have our nice little labels on our X, Y, and Z axes. And that's all we're going to do for right now in the code. Now we want to add that nice little slicer to set the angle and be able to rotate this 3D model. And the way we're going to do that is by typing in, or going to modeling and clicking on the new what if parameter. That adds a nice little slicer on our page that allows you to select a single value. So we're going to call this parameter angle, and we're going to set the maximum to 360 for 360 degrees. Click OK, and that's going to add a slicer by default on the screen here. If you come to this little drop down arrow, we can click single value, and now we have a slicer that just selects a value here. So we're going to want to bring that value into our R visual. So let's go ahead and click on the R visual and come to angle and bring that angle column into the bottom of the what we're bringing into the R visual. And you see right now that says count of angle. We actually want to set this to average. So basically it's going to take in whatever number this is and pass this into the R visual, but it's going to pass in the average, which doesn't make too much sense. It's passing in the average of 55. So it's going to pass in 55. So once we pass in that angle, we want to call it in our visual. So we set angle equal to dataset money angle. And since it's passing through a list of angles, we actually just want the first value of that list. So we type in bracket 1 and close off the bracket. Then now we're just getting the first value of that list, which is our 55. So once we're done, we can go ahead and click run script, and it'll set the angle based on our slicer selection. So we're all done now. Now we can see in action what we've just built, and we can see it rotating, and you can set the angle and get different views of your 3D model. So it's really cool, kind of fun to play with. So go ahead and give that a try. If you like the video, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video.